Yo, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Street Coder Nate, and today I got a real fun one for y'all. We're really jumping into some code. We getting really into the code today. So we've been over the series been talking about XML, or not XML, but AJAX requests and sending data back and forth between clients and servers. We went abstract and saw it on the iPad, as you see in the background and whatnot. But now today, what we're gonna do is take this idea a bit further. And when we take this idea a bit further, what we're going to do, that means we're going to actually spin up some HTML. We're going to connect it with some JavaScript. And I found free APIs online for us to connect to a server and send like a GET request. And that GET request, we're going to be connected to that server sending GET requests with the data of somebody's name. And that server is going to send back the prediction of that person's age based on it. And so basically what we're going to do is just make a quick HTML website where it has an input box and a button, and then the user is going to be able to put their data into that input box, and when they click the search button, what we're going to do on the front end is extract that data from the input box, send a GET request, because the search is going to be of the name. So we're going to send that GET request to that API server, and then get back the data from the API server. And the data that we get back from the API server, we're going to show on the front end, say like, this is the name that the server said. And you'll see the whole process that I've been explaining over the 3 videos. You'll see it all worked out. So without further ado, I'm going to show y'all the whole process, like from to begin. I didn't even open up Visual Studio Code yet. So let me go ahead and share my other screen real quick, and we'll get to it. There we go. All right, bet. And let me move myself over here real quick. All right, bet. Cool. How we gonna do the camera? Just over here a little bit. Nope. Sorry, y'all. I thought I had the camera straight. All right, bet. Let's move. All right, cool. So now what I'm gonna do? Oh, you can see I'm recording. Is open up Visual Studio Code here, and it's open up down there. I'm gonna open it right here, and you see that is open. There's something different, and so we're gonna go here, Street Coders. Let's go to Street Coders website, and let's open up a new folder, create a new folder, and what we just gonna call this one is AJAX GET requests. AJAX GET, and we'll open up that folder. And now, every single time I create a project, I just make it in a new folder. Trust the authors of this parent folder, Street Coders website. Yes, I trust. Do you trust the authors? Provide familiarity. I didn't know they used to do this now. Automatically execute files. Oh, that's cool. All right, cool. All right, sure. Yes, I trust the authors. Trust and enable all features. All right, cool. All right, bet. Now, as you can see over here, I don't have any files in here, so let's start adding files. Well, this is an index, or this is going to be a website, right? So, we need an index.html file, index.html, we need that. And let's just get the basic stuff going. And we'll just call this JS AJAX GET tutorial, like that. And in the body, we'll say what up though, just welcome. Cool. But we also need some JavaScript, so let's call this index.js. All right, and inside of the index.js, we're just gonna say a console.log loaded to know that the file was loaded. Zoom in a little bit more, like that. Cool. And then we're going to come back over to the index.js and load the file. How do we load the file? So we come up here, we say script, come down here to source. Where's the source? Right here, the index.js. And the reason we put in defer is because we want this to load after all the HTML loads. Cool. So now if I open up this in live server, index.js file, open. I guess I can't open the live server. Let's see, why can't I open? Well, we'll just come back here to documents, street coders websites. It will come not Instaclone, it will come here and open it that way. Cool. So you see what up though is there. Gonna zoom in all the way so you can see. And then we also, if I inspect my elements, I should see the loaded right there. Bet loaded was just there. Cool. All right, my website has been loaded. You just seen how to connect HTML, CSS that quick. Like I just spent up, what was that? Less than 5 minutes. All right, cool. So now what do I want? Well, the ideal that I said that I wanted was an input box and just a button just that says, almost like a Google thing that for real, that says search name or something. And so that's what I'm about to create. And so when I think about this, I think about this abstractly. Let me try to draw it out how I would think about this. So it would be like if this is the web page, like this, that's the web page. Then on the web page, I kind of want my input box in the middle, and I want it to say search name. And then I want the button to be right here to be like search. And then after they get their result, we put the result like right here. All right, cool. So how am I gonna build that? Well, I know I'm gonna need some type of container to hold these two items, and then I'm gonna have a container for what just got back from being searched, and then all of these are just gonna be in one container like this, so I can have overall control over these two separate containers right here. Okay, cool. So when I see that, I'm like, all right, well, this right here, I'm gonna call that the body. So we know that the body. So if we come back to the HTML, you already see we got our body right here. So cool, we got our right. Where is it? Come back to the HTML, we see that the body. Oh wait, wow, it's almost like right. Wow. Okay, we see that the body is right there. Cool, we got the body. But now, getting back over here, now we need something else. Right here, we need a div. And this div is going to be our container. It's going to be our container for the element. So element, or let's call it our main container. It's going to be our main container. So how I would create this is I will now come back over here and say I need a div, and I'm going to give it the class main container dot main dash container like these. And now I got my div main container. Cool, because remember, div is just a box. Now let's come back over here and check out what else I need. All right, so I got one box. Then I said I needed this box too, right? I need that box, and I also need that box. Those two boxes are going to be on the same. Those two boxes are going to be on the same level inside of this main container. The div that's the main container. These two boxes are going to be siblings. So I need to create these two boxes. What are these two boxes? That's a div, this a div. What does this div represent? This div right here represents the search. Let's call this the search div or search container. We'll call that one the search container. And then this will be the answer container or something like that. Answer container. Bet. Cool. So let's go create those two divs. On the other side, so like I said, they're going to be siblings, so they're going to be on the same level. So we'll go first div, and we'll say search container, bang. Then we'll go to the next div, and we'll say div dot and what's the one is supposed to be? This is supposed to be name container, like that. Bang. Cool. So we got our two divs. All right, let's hop back over to the over here to the iPad. All right, so now that we got our two divs, let's go inside of the first div right here. So what do we need in that first div? Well, I know that this is an input box right here. This one right there that I just drew that brown around, that's the input box. So we're gonna put some input, or so we're gonna put an input box, and then right underneath it right here is a button. And so what I'm gonna do with there is also put a button. So let's slide back over to the HTML, bang. And in the first one, we're gonna put an input like these. the type is text, and we could put a placeholder. And the placeholder is basically like when it say like put your name here, it's that little gray text, and then you start typing it and the gray text go away. So that's what a placeholder is. So what we're gonna say is type name or something. Type your name. Type your name. All right, bet. And then right up underneath, what else do we need? We need a button. So bet. And in the button, we'll say search your name. All right, cool. All right, so let's hop over to our browser and let's see what our code look like. All right, bet. This is what we're looking like so far. We got search your name and got a search box. But that's not all what we need yet, because now that I think about it, we still need one more thing. And what else do we need? We need this little part right here. And that is going to be, remember, that's the answer container. And so inside the answer container, let's just put let's do an H3. Let's put an H3 there. So when the answer comes back, it's going to be in the form of an H3. But we're just going to throw an H3 there, and there's no answer right now. So right now we just put the H3 and just leave it, right? So it would just leave it blank. And what you'll see is that it won't show up on the screen. It will just be, but the H3 will still exist there. And the reason I'm doing this is I'll show you why. Actually, I'm gonna just leave the answer container by itself. I'm gonna leave that right there because that's already enough for itself. We don't even gotta put the H3 there. So I'm gonna put I'm gonna leave the answer container how it is. And so let's look back over here at our website right now. So this is currently what our website, or wait, my bad, on the wrong thing. There we go. So this is currently what our website looks like, and it's it doesn't look like the design, right? It don't look like the design, but the website looking like that. So how are we gonna make this website get to this structure, right? We already structured it out with the HTML. Right here. Now we just need to manipulate it with some CSS, and we'll get the exact structure that we're looking for. So therefore, let's create a CSS file. So we'll call this one styles.css. And right, we need to link that styles page. So let's go ahead and call a link right here, and it's a CSS link, and I'll call mine styles.css like that. And if I click on this with command, I should be taken to my styles page. Cool. So in my styles page, I don't have anything right now, but y'all know I like to do my CSS resets so that my browser doesn't have any of those CSS presets on it. So I'm gonna go ahead and just Google CSS reset, a modern CSS one. I think I already kind of like bookmarked that one. That's one of my favorite ones right here. I need to cite him one day, but y'all see the website. And then we're gonna come over here and bang. And I always just come up to the top and I'll be like, CSS reset, which resets everything in the browser, for all the CSS in the browser. Cool. I made them little squares and shit, but that's smooth. All right, cool. So this is what we got right now. And so now that I already did my CSS reset, now I know that I don't have any pre-CSS added to this. Now I'm about to just add all the CSS that I want. And y'all know that I love using Flexbox. So what I'm about to do is Flexbox the heck out of this. And so if we take a look at, let's go back to this main container thing real quick. If we take a look at the body, well, first you see there's the body right here. There's the body right there, right? And so with the body's not really doing nothing, but the body is the container for the main container. And the main container is the container for the other two containers inside. And so what we want to do is make the main container a flex container and tell the main container what to do with the two items inside of it. Okay, so what I'm about to do is say, I'm about to go to the main container and turn it into a flex container. And so the way that we turn it into a flex container is by simply saying main container. Oh wait, looking at the wrong thing. There we go. Main container. and we'll say display, and we'll call it flex, like that. So now if we come back over here, nothing really changed. But that's because flex makes it one row. So, but I want, and that's fine. Actually, no, it's not fine because I have two divs. And how do I know? Let's keep the dev tools open while we developing. So we got this, and we got main container. And so let's open up our elements or the CSS. And on the main container right here, you see that I do have a display flex because I just put that display flex right there up on it. So display flex right there on the main container. Cool. And then the main container has this container, and it has the search container, and then it also has the name container, as y'all can see right here. Cool. So now we got that. Let's go back to the code. We display flexed it, and then we want to say the flex direction is a column, like that. So we refresh this. Flex direction is column. Didn't really do much just yet. Cool. That's fine though. And then we'll just set the width to 100%, which it says always extend the full width. Cool. We good now. Now in the main container though, let's also set the height to 100% as well, because it's the main container and it's the only thing that we really want to see on the screen. So now if we go over here, hover over the main container, why ain't the main container should have its height of I said 100%, my bad. I want it to be 100 VH, there we go. And now we come back over here, you see that the main container has a height of 100 VH, which is the full screen. So now I can go ahead and move these two containers that are inside of it, let's say to the middle of the screen. So let's say I say, what is it? It's gonna be align, no, justify, content center, like that. And we come back over. Now our content is in the center, and let's align it also in the center too. Align items, center. And now you come over here, and now they're really smack dab in the center. My bad, I'm on this. They're really smack dab in the center. Cool. That's this one and this one. But now we need to go inside of the search container. Because look, the search container, we need to go inside of it. And the reason we need to go inside the search the reason we need to go inside the search container is because if you look at the search container, it has the input on the top and then the button on the bottom. So we kind of need to go ahead and flex the search container as well. And so I'm about to go ahead and show y'all how to do that real quick. And let's hop back over here. Let's cancel that. All right, so bet. So let's go ahead and flex the search container. Let's go .search - container, like that. And we'll say display flex, and we know we want it to be in the column. All right, so like that, and just copy that over. And now if I refresh, bang, now they're one on top of the other, like that. Cool. You see, it's not taking that much CSS to do this either. Cool. So now they're one on top of the other. We starting to get it kind of how we wanted it, right? If we come back over to here, but it's pretty much the setup that we wanted. Let's just add like a background color or something to make it easier to look at. So where we're gonna add that background color? Well, we can add the background color. Let's take a look at our elements. We have this element where it's search container, and then we also have another element right here, the button or the name container, or we can put it on the main container. I say put it on the main container because then let's go like background color, and let's go like red right now, like that, and then we could tap on red and play around. Let's go like something like these, like that. Cool. And so now what I'm gonna do is just go ahead and copy this background color line over to my CSS, and bang, now I got background color. Refresh it over here. Got a background color. Put it on the wrong thing. My bad. Put it on the search container. All right, cool. And now I got our background color right there. Bet. So now what we're gonna do is be able to type up in here, and when we start typing, after we type, we're gonna click here, and then it's gonna take the name and send that GET request over. So y'all basically just saw me do a little bit of HTML and CSS really quick. I did that is another step with 10-15 minutes, not even too bad. All right, now what we're gonna do is now add some JavaScript to this, all right? And so how are we gonna add JavaScript? Well, the thing is, when we click, what are we trying to do? Let's pause first. Let's pause and figure out what are we trying to do. Well, what we're trying to do is say when our user adds their name into the search bar, let's go ahead and add a real name. Let's say Nate. When they add a real name to the search bar and they click search your name, when they click that search your name button, what we want to do is take the name out of the input box and package it up with the GET request to the server to ask the server to give us back the random name or random age it think I am based on my name. And so we need to do a few things to do that. We need to be able to figure out, we need to do, all of this is going to happen in the JavaScript. There's no way we could do this in the HTML or CSS. Like, all this logic is JavaScript based, and this is why we was learning JavaScript. Now, CSS and HTML, they would just put the stuff on the web page and designed it as you just saw me do. Now the part is like, how are we going to get this, what we see, the interaction, the logic behind it, how are we going to do that? And that's with JavaScript. So you're going to have to bear with me because this is the first time we're really tapping in. But what I'm going to tell you is that we're going to need this thing called, we're going to need a reference to the actual input element. So what do I mean by that? So if we come here, there is an input element right here. We're going to need a reference to that in the JavaScript so that we can grab the value out of it that the user is going to put into it, right? And then we also going to need a reference to this button too, right? We're going to need a reference to that button because we want to know, we're going to want to listen. We're going to want to add an event listener on this button when the event of a click happens, when you're clicked on. So we need to grab a reference to that button and set its on click handler and say when you're clicked on, then go to that reference that we just called, that we grabbed for the input element, and grab the value out of that input element, right? So button, when you're clicked on, go grab the value out of the input element. That's why we need the reference to the input element. So now with those two references, we can do some stuff. So the first thing that we need to do in JavaScript is figure out how we can get references to these two elements, right? And so right here, these are the elements in the HTML. And in JavaScript, or in CSS, if we wanted references to them, right, we would just say, what is this, search container, right? If I wanted a reference to this input element or this button, I would come here and go dot search container, and then I'll go button. And this will give me the reference to the button, or that was the input, but I'm gonna grab the button. If you don't believe me, let me change the background color. Or let me just change the color of the button text. Let's change the color of the button text to red real quick, like that. And now if I refresh the page, I just grab the button. And so I grabbed the button by saying, go to the search container right here. I said, go to the search container. And under the search container, there's some button elements. And all the buttons underneath the search container, grab them and make them red. That's what I said. And so that's how we did that in CSS. And so how can we do that in JavaScript though? And so the way that we do it in JavaScript is that we have this thing called, first we have to create a variable to save it in. So and what we're gonna call this variable? We're gonna call this variable what is it again? Input element. So let input element equal, what are we going to let it equal? We're going to let the input element equal document dot query selector. And so query selector lets us select elements from the document using CSS selectors, which is why I just explained how we were able to grab the CSS code before. So like in the button for the CSS. So this is how we were able to select the button in CSS. And so with query selector, we just pass in a CSS selector like that, and bada boom, bada bam, we have access to this input element. And so if you don't believe me, let's go ahead and do a quick little console.log of that input element. Oops. Right here, let's come back over here to our browser, refresh the page, and go to our console. And what you'll see is this. All right. Oh yeah, let me refresh this. Refresh the page right here. And now right down there, you see that button is search your name. That search your name button. That's right here because I just grabbed the button. Cool. So what if I wanted to input? Well, I just put input right here. Because remember, this is for the input element, right? And so I come back over here, I refresh, oops, refresh. Cool, I got my input element, and I also want my button element though, so let's go ahead and create one for the button element. We'll go button element, and we'll just turn this one to button. All right, cool. And now I got my button element, and I got my input element. Now, what do I want to do? Now what I want to do is go ahead and add my event listener to my button. I want to say button, when you're clicked on, grab that data from the input element, right? So I'm going to go and say button, and I'm going to say dot add event listener. And the event I want to listen to is the click event. So I'm going to say click, please JavaScript remove, or not JavaScript, but thing. I'm going to say the click, do the click. And so that's the first parameter that's passed in. The second parameter that's passed in is the event handler. And so the event handler is a JavaScript function. Remember, if you don't know how this event handler stuff working, go check out the videos. Can't explain it all. We got stuff to do. All right, so on click, let's just say on click of the button, how about we just console.log the input element? Let's just do that every single time. On click of the button, let's console.log the input element. So we're gonna refresh the page. Let's take this off, let's refresh the page, cool. So now I'm gonna just go ahead and put Nate right here, and on click is going to print out the input element. And you see the input element is literally just the input. But there's different things about the input that we can print out. Like there's this thing called the value. So we can say input element dot value, or I want to say no value. Actually dot no value. I think that's what it is actually. And then you refresh, and if I go now, Nate. Oh, yep, that wasn't the one I wanted. Input element. I'm pretty sure it's dot value. This shit trying to confuse me. Input element, Nate, bet. So when I click the input element now, let me go ahead and let's see if I can. Okay, I can't. But yeah, when I click the input element, or when I click the button, it grabs the data from the input element. I go input element, and I say value, and I can now print out Nate. So input element dot value helps us get the value. Dope. So what I'm going to do is say const name is going to equal input element. I'm going to save that dot value here, bet. And I want to make sure that the user put in a value, because like let's say that the user didn't put a value, like right here, and I search, you see that empty come up. So I want to make sure that the name isn't empty. So I'm going to say if name equal empty string or null. Remember, null means nothing. If name is equal to those, then what I want to say is just like return out the function. Like we don't really care. Return, bet, something like that. Like that just means like exit out the function, don't continue. All right, cool. All right, and actually I forgot the bad syntax. One day we'll be able to do that in code. But yeah, so yeah, say name equal that, and or it equals this one, then we don't want to do anything else. Now what we're gonna do is send the GET request. And so this is the fun part of this whole little project, is sending this GET request. And so how do we send this GET request? Well, the browser allows, or the browser gives us access to this thing called the XML HTTP request module. And so through this module, or module, whatever it is, through it we can, and a module is just like a library, it's an object, it's whatever. It helps us connect to the website. And so the way that people use it is, say they create an instance of this module like HTTPX, and they'll set it equal to XML HTTP request or request like this, or they set it equal to a new one like that. And
I didn't get that. Could you try?
Siri. And now what we can do is set its on load equals a function. And so I'm gonna explain this to you in a second. All right, so what does this mean? So right now on this line, I'm doing some magic. On that line, I'm creating an XML HTTP request object. An XML HTTP request object is how we're going to be able to do our get, post, put, patch, delete requests. When I was explaining that in the old videos, well, this little package right here gives us access to that. And so in order to use this package, I need to create a variable, an instance. That's what they call it, an instance. So I said const HTTPX. HTTPX is an instance of this library. Now I have access to the functionality that this library gives me, so I can make these post and put requests. And so after I make a post and put request, though, remember, this post and put request is going to a server somewhere else. This is going to take some time. This is going to be an asynchronous process. And so there's this event that happens when after I send this request to the server, and the server now sends this response back, there's an event that fires called on load, meaning that data has just been loaded back into the project. And so, or data has just been loaded into the object right here. So that's the HTTPX object. We're going to send a GET request, and that GET request is going to go to a server. That server is going to process that GET request and send data back to us, and it's going to load it into this HTTPX object. And so therefore on load, whenever this HTTPX object is loaded with the data that came back from the server, what do we want to do? Well, basically, so far, all we're going to do is just print out the data for that came back. And so the data that came back is inside of this HTTPX object. So, and is one of the attributes of the HTTPX object. So you say HTTPX, and then you say something about text. Status text, response text. There we go. HTTPX response text, and pretty much this is going to be the response in the string format. But instead of saying HTTPX, the thing is we're inside of this. It's HTTPX.onload. So we're inside of the HTTPX already when we say onload. When we're defining this function and we're saying the equal, we already know that it's referring to this HTTPX. So what you will see is that people will replace HTTPX right there and use the name this, which is referring to this HTTPX. There's going to be some text on this object, and I want that response text. So you just say this. I don't want y'all to be confused if y'all ever see that, so I'm going to put that there right now. And so what we're saying is on load. So after we get our data back from the server, just print the data out to the screen right now, to the console. But first, we need to go ahead and make these requests, right? And so the way that we make the request is we say HTTPX.open. And so this is going to open up a socket connection. It's going to open a connection to the server that we want to connect to. And so the first thing that you see right here, it says the method, and then that's the first parameter to open, and then the second parameter is the URL. So the method is get, post, put, or not. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a get request as the method, and that goes in as a string. Let me show y'all. And that goes in as a string right there. So I put a get request, and then the second parameter is the URL. So where am I trying to go? And so let me show y'all the API we're gonna be using. The API we're using is this one right here, Ageify, predict the age of a person based on their name. And so the way that we use this API is that, the way that we use this API is that it looks like this is the base part of the API, and then we have to pass in a variable. If you see the question mark, that question mark says, all right, the domain name of the API is done. Now I'm about to start passing in variables. And so you see question mark, and then you see name equals Milan. So it's kind of like key value pairs, is that the name or the variable name is going to be on the left, and then the value is going to be on the right of the equal sign, and then you separate them by ampersands. But they only need one value here. And so basically we're going to let's copy this real quick over here, and let's create a variable called const, and let's just call this URL, and that's going to equal this, right? And so we're going to take this part off because we want to set the name each time, right? We don't want to say that the name is Milan each time. We want the name to be whatever the user put in this input search box, right? That's what we want each time. So what we're gonna do is delete that name off. But the reason I put it there is so that I can see the format. I can see that, you know what, I'm gonna actually leave that question mark there, and you know what, I'm gonna also leave name equals there. That's how I'm gonna just leave it just like that. Then now all I gotta do is add the name that came from the input value. I'm gonna concatenate. So when you take one string and you want to put them together to another string, that's called a concatenation. And so I'm gonna concatenate the name from the input value, input point value. I'm gonna concatenate that name with the where we at? With the URLs right here. And so, and then that's going to be the URL that I send. So I'm going to go ahead and say URL plus name. And using that plus operator puts them two together, right? And so now what I'm doing is I'm opening this connection on a GET request to URL plus name. And so it's going to come to this URL, which is https api.ageify.io question mark name equals. And what name equals is I'm going to add the name to the end of it using this plus operator. When you do two strings plus each other, they concatenate it. So that put it together. Cool. And I'm going to send that to the server. Well, I just opened the connection. I need to now say httpx.send. And now this sends my GET request to the server. And remember, okay, so now I sent my GET request here. Or I open my connection there. Yeah, let's do that. I open my connection here to the server. Like I'm saying, server, I'm opening a connection to you and I need this file. And now I'm sending that request to that server. And now, after that request comes back from the server and is processed, it's going to run this asynchronous code. Remember, I was explaining asynchronous to you. It's going to run this asynchronous code that's on load, because the server is going to load data back into this HTTPX object. And after it loads the data back into the HTTPX object, we're just going to print that data out. So let's see what happens. And this is on click of the button, right? This is on click of add event listener. So I'm going ahead and right now, come here, refresh the page, clear my console, and I'm gonna put Nate, and I'm gonna search. Undefined just happened. So let's see what just happened. Well, let's check the network. And on the network, did here, the name was Nate, age is 45, count is 1891. Okay, so when we printed out, where we go back, we console.log, we printed out this dot response text, but it didn't print out. So let's do httpx.response text, and let's see if that gives us a different thing. So we refresh the page, come over here, refresh, clear this out, type in Nate, because we actually did get a response. I saw the response that came back. All right, there we go. That makes sense. So it actually is HTTPX response text. But what you see down there, you see my response text. Like you see that it says name is Nate. My age is predicted to be 45 and my count is 89. Well, cool, we got that here. And what you saw me do earlier was check the network tab. And I went to the network tab because what's happening is sending data back and forth is called sending data over the network. So you can see all the requests that you make from your app. And so I went here and I checked and I was like, oh, we actually are getting data back, because I'm looking at the preview. The preview shows you the data that came back from the server. If there was no preview, then there was no data that came back. And right now you see a 304, which means data was cached, which means that it was good, it came back. It's kind of like seeing 200. Okay, cool. And so the data that came back name was Nate. Bet. So I got my name was Nate right here, but now, or my name is Nate and my age is 45, but I want to be able to put my age is 45 like right there for the user to see, like predicted age is 45. That's what I want to put right here. And so now that I got my age back in my code, I got it back right here, right? And that's where my age is. Let's go ahead. What you see is that this is JSON, but when I print it out in the console, let's go back to the console. When I print it out in the console, what you actually see is a string representation of the JSON. This is not JSON. This is JSON. But what we see right now is a string representation. So what we want to do is convert this string representation of the JSON to the actual JavaScript object. And the reason that it's a string representation of it is because when you send data over the network, you send data as strings. You don't send it as objects. And so we stringify our JavaScript objects, and it turns it into a JSON, and we send it. And so then when we send it, the server just sent that object to me. And now on my end, what I need to do is I need to parse it. And parse it means I need to take that string and turn it back into a JavaScript object, so now I can use it in my code. And so the browser gives us, or JavaScript gives us API built in to do that. And that API is called, first I'm gonna save it into a variable. So I'm gonna say const, and I'm gonna just call it JS object, or actually I'm gonna say predicted name object, predict object, because this is the predicted name or predicted age for my name. And so I'm gonna set that equal to, and you say JSON.parse. JSON.parse, and you pass in the string that you're trying to parse, and which is HTTPX response text, and that's going to parse that text for us. And so that's going to make that a JSON object. So now let's console.log this, or just going to make this an actual JavaScript object. So you console.log the predict object, and let's see what happens now. I'm going to refresh, and I do, oh yeah, okay, so cool. You see the refresh, and you'll see that there's only index.html, index.json, or JS, and styles.css. These are all the files that was sent from the server to my browser. Now, and the server just being my computer for this point. And now what I'm gonna do is type in Nate, and what you will see is when I hit this click or this search your name, this kind of like hitting that like button, hit search your name, you see that I just sent this request in the background, and the response came back really fast. Like you saw a click search and the response came like that quick. Like this is what's happening on our websites when people are like clicking the like button, making posts and whatnot. We're doing all this stuff in the background that you can't really see. But if you open up the browser, you will literally see what's happening. Okay, so let's look at the console. Now, the console, you can see a JavaScript object. And I'm glad that this one stayed here, because this is from the previous run. That was from the previous run. And now this is from this run. And what you can see is that the previous one was printing out the string representation of the object. And now this is the actual JavaScript object. So now I can use like the dot operator and grab out the age right there and put it on the screen. So let's do that. So now that I got the data in my JavaScript object, what I'm gonna say is I'm gonna go const age is equal to predict dot age. Cool, I got the age. And now that I got the age, what I want to do is put this age onto the screen. Where do I want to put this age at? Well, now we got to come back over here to our file, or to our thing, to our app, to see yeah, here we go, back to our app to kind of see where the age goes. And now in our app, we know that we need to put, like, your predicted age goes into this part right here. That's the answer box. It goes in the answer box. So what we need is, well, in order to put something into the answer box on the HTML, we need a reference to that in the JavaScript. We need to go get a reference to this answer box so that we can put a H1 or a H3 inside that answer box, and the answer being like the age. So we'd be able to do that like real quick. So let's do that. Saving. Well, we already know how to grab references right here. So let's go let answer box, or answer container, because this is what it's going to be. This is going to be the answer container. This is going to equal document dot query selector. And what are we selecting? We're selecting the dot answer. I think it was answer container. Let's make sure. We selecting the dot answer container. We're gonna come back over here. Was it answer container? Oh nope, it was name container. And let's actually just change it to answer container. Cool. Answer container. Change that over there. I got an error somewhere. Answer equal document query selector. Oh, right there. All right, cool. So now we got our answer container. And now what we're going to do is build HTML on the fly. And so what we want to build is a H3 element so that we can put that inside of the answer container. Because if we come back over to here in the index.html, what you'll see is that the answer container has nothing in it. So we're going to put some, oh no, I've been telling y'all stuff and I wasn't even on it. Okay, so we're going to come back over here to the index.html. And what you see is that the answer container has nothing inside of it. And so we will be able to, in our JavaScript, we're going to put that age inside of it. We're going to put an H1, or we're going to put an H3 with an age inside of it. So how do we do that? Well, first we got to create our element. So let's first go let H3 element equals document dot create element. Right there, dot create element, and the element that we want to create is a H3. Cool. Document dot create element H3, and now we can say H3 element dot inner text is going to be, or we just say inner HTML is going to be equal to, and we're going to set it equal to the string. What's the string going to be? The string is going to be your searched, or your predicted name is, and actually it's not name, it's age. Your predicted age is, and then we tell them the age, and we do a concatenation of where the dollar sign, and we'll say age. Cool. So your predicted age is there, and then we're gonna put this into the we're gonna put this new H3 element on the web page inside of the answers container. So we'll go answers container dot append child, and the child that we want to append is the H3 element, like that. Cool. So let's see what happened. Let's see if it's actually gonna do it. So we're gonna come back over here, we're gonna refresh it, we're gonna put in Nate, and we're gonna search. Your predicted age is 45. Wow, it just popped up right there. And y'all see it, that came back from the server. Now let me show y'all some real cool things that we can do. So y'all see how we just popped that up on the screen. So let's go ahead and take out let's check this element out. We're gonna click on that. That's the H3. So we got answers container.h3. What if we wanted to style up that H3? Let's come here to the answers container, search name. Oh wait, I put it up there, my bad. As you can see, you can also move stuff around. All right, we back here. Oh wait, nope, nothing. There we go. We out. Nope, one more. All right, there we go. We back where we was at. All right, so we got the answers container. We're gonna open it up, and we got the H3. So at the answers container H3, we can give it some styling. We can say that the color is white. Let's go white. Let's give it some padding. Padding top. Or actually, let's give it a margin top. Margin. Let's go back to margin top. And go margin dash top, and we'll go to rim like that. Give it some space, and this is what we're gonna do. So we can add this. What you're gonna see is we can add this data to, or we can add this styling already using this right here. So instead of the search container, we'll come here and say answers container, answer container, and then what was the element inside the answer container? H3. And so now we can just paste this here, and now whenever the answer pops up, it already has some styling on it. So let's come back here, refresh the page, and we got Nate, and bang, your age is 45, and it got our styling on it right there. So this is pretty much the connection between HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. You really just saw all three of them work together. But this was just off a GET request. We're gonna do the same thing for a post request we're using this. We're not gonna create a new app. We're gonna use this bare bones, or this bones of what we already had, and do a post request and update some stuff somehow off the post request on the next video. But this pretty much was like pretty much connecting the HTML, CSS, JavaScript, all the knowledge that we were learning with asynchronous programming, JSON, taking data, dynamic programming, and all of that all just happened on this. And so if you were able to follow along in this 50-minute video, man, you are doing well. Congratulations. And really now all it is just start practicing making some more JavaScript apps. And so we're going to make a couple more with these post requests, put requests, and delete requests. But after that, we're going to get into some real fun ones and with some better CSS and whatnot. So until then, I'm going to see y'all. Deuces.